Each morning, real setups are broken down with entry strategies and technical reasoning behind every trade. This is today's best trade setups with Verified Investing.
Welcome to today's best trade setups. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Thank you so much for joining me this morning at 8:45 in the morning. I'm going to go over a couple different stocks. I have a couple different stocks that we were watching yesterday. Some of them played out. One of them actually didn't play out at all. I wish I could say that each and every one of my trades is going to play out perfectly. However, every once in a while, you'll get stocks like APP, like I mentioned yesterday, can really be momentum driven, and the price can just continue in one direction or another. In this case, APP just continued to surge higher and actually not only blew through that level by a small margin, but got $20 to $30 above my entry level. And now today, at the end of the show, I have kind of what's called my Hail Mary, where if price continues to fall on SYM, I have a couple different long levels that I am interested in going long. AMD is another chart that we've been following for some time. I'm going to go ahead and go over to that chart and show you what I'm seeing in here. So the first stock, like I mentioned, is AMD. We had this shortable level on a swing trade basis based on this head and shoulders pattern, a short at $224.07. It got up above that level just briefly and then got a little bit of a flush out. Now we're starting to see a little bit more selling pressure come into the AMD chart. I'm still monitoring this level for a potential short for a swing trade basis. If price action does break back inside of this neckline or above this neckline, price action would likely to go higher back into this gap fill that I was mentioning at $240.33. I still like this as a day trade short level. However, price action did get rejected. And so if it does continue to sell off, I do like this green bar candle right here. So my long level today is $199.79. You have this bottom of this pivot area around $194.51. I would be adding all the way there. And if it closed below 194.51 on a 15-minute closing basis, the likelihood is that AMD is going to continue to sell off even more and drive the price even lower. So I would stop out on a 15-minute closing basis. Another chart that we were looking at is the SMH. I had mentioned here is this upsloping parallel channel that we've been following for quite some time. It did get up to my short level yesterday. It had this let me go ahead and zoom into the charts. Had this gap fill. I did take this trade. I did end up stopping out of this for a small loss. It was about a $250 loss on the SMH, based on the nature of what was going on. When I get into trades, I like volatile stocks. And as price action did head up into that area, it started to consolidate sideways. For me, when price action starts to consolidate sideways after it's already broken through a gap fill, price action is likely to continue higher. It did get a decent sell-off, got over a $2 pullback, and then throughout the morning session or the afternoon session, it did go up a little bit more. So my next shortable level I have in the charts is right here at $365.10, or excuse me, 86 cents. This is right before this gap fill at 366.10. I would be willing to get in just a little bit ahead of that, just because I like to get into this trade a little bit before this gap fill, just knowing that there are potentially sellers at this pivot high right here in between this area. Their price action may not get up to there. So again, I would short it at 365.86. Now that we've broken back inside of this parallel channel, this short is off of the table. The one from previous yesterday, if price action confirms inside of this parallel channel, the SMH could continue higher and take out the pivot top at $372.78, and then march even higher all the way back to the midline, probably taking this up to about 380, 385. BA is a stock that I was watching yesterday as well. It did fill this gap at 205.38. If price action continues higher, I have two shortable levels. The first shortable level is $210.01 with this gap fill right here at 213.58. So what I would do is dollar cost average into this. I would add one time, and then my second ad would be 213.58. Looking for a decent 3 to 4% pullback on the Boeing chart. This is an overextended chart from the lows. Look at this. This would be a 20% move on the back of Boeing. Doesn't happen very often. However, it did do that today or yesterday and today. And so it could happen. I still like this shortable level at 210.01. MongoDB, let me go ahead and come back to there. MongoDB didn't get to our level, but what I'm noticing in the charts is you've got this really big up move, and now we put in a topping tail on the daily time frame. So look at this. What am I looking at when I'm looking at a topping tail? I need the wick to be greater than 50% of the entire candle. In this case, I've drawn this, or I've created this fib tool. So 50% Fibonacci retracement is 409.51. So for me, if price action got here on a swing trade basis, this is where I'd be looking to short on a retracement of the 50% retracement. The other thing I'm looking at is the highs of the charts. If you zoom out in MongoDB, it is at the highs of the charts. And so this is still a valid topping tail. Not all-time highs, but it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be in the last 180 candles. Then I need to close lower than 25%. Here's a 25% fib retracement at 404.51. So it does qualify there as well. And then it needs, and that would qualify this as a topping tail. Your stop out on a daily closing basis is above the upper end of the wick at $419.54. And again, that first shortable level is 409.51. All right, APP was another stock that we were mentioning yesterday. My shortable level was this wide range red bar candle pivot high at $467.18. It did end up going well above that. It got up to $480 on the daily time frame for APP. Look at the price action. Good sell off once price finally started to sell. However, it did pierce that level pretty significantly. You could have stopped out for about a $5 loss. We ended up trying to take this trade in the live day trading room. We ended up taking it twice. First time was for a little bit of a loss, and the second time was, the first time was a decent sized loss. The second time was a gain. So that's how you navigate that trade. CRDO is another topping tail, and this was a chart that I was mentioning yesterday, a shortable level at 203.90 for a swing trade basis, and this is starting to play out a little bit as well. And it also put in a daily topping tail. So the same thing that we're looking at on CRDO and the same as MDB. Is it at the highs of the chart? Yes, it is. This is actually at the all-time highs. Is the wick greater than 50%? And in this case, it is. I'm actually going to use my fib tool, take it from the pivot top to the low end of the candle. And as you can see, the 50% Fibonacci retracement is $200.32. So this would be your entry price if you're not already in this trade for a retracement to the scene or to the 50% Fibonacci retracement for an entry price with a stop out at any close on a daily closing basis above $213.74. For a day trade, I would be looking for a 786 fib retracement. So if price action got up to $208.03, this is where I'm shorting this on a day trade basis and looking to take a little bit of a profit, maybe $3, $4, as much as $5. The reason this would be more of a day trade, I would be going heavier on this position and looking for a smaller gain just to kind of scalp this. All right. My stop out would be any close above that topping tail on a 15-minute closing basis, and then look to re-enter that at another time, probably about a pierce of 310. Intel, I know I didn't have it in the charts, but this is kind of my surprise for you guys. Look at this gap fill on Intel. I love this chart. It could be setting up for a potential reversal. Look at the pivot low from the bottom. Look, this is a 32% move for on Intel. $43.94 is this first gap fill. It did kiss this level, so this entry price at this gap fill isn't going to be as sharp of a pullback. You had a lot of opportunity for buyers or sellers to get out of this stock Now that it's pushing up into this, I'm do anticipate it going up to this pivot top around $45.37. So my entry on a short basis on Intel is a pierce of $45. It has to get up there in the first 15 to 20 minutes. If it doesn't, if it just consolidates sideways, look at this gap fill. This is a swing trade short level, $49.55. Awesome opportunity for a swing trade on Intel. The extended move from the lows of August. Look at this. It's 160% move to the upside. Got a little bit of a pullback and then another extended move to the upside. I'm really loving this as a potential reversal and a major pullback for the Intel charts. IREN was a stock that somebody was looking at, asking about a retracement to the scene of the crime. Here's a downsloping trend line that I have on the charts. What I want you to notice about IREN in this situation is IREN didn't confirm above it. So it did break out above this downsloping trend line. It never confirmed above, meaning that there was no continuation above it. So a retracement to the scene of the crime doesn't really fit my criteria for entering a trade, especially having it gotten so close to this gap fill at $38.64. This would be more of a riskier play at $37.84. But for me, I would be waiting for a pullback to about $30.16, knowing that there's this gap fill, this major gap fill at $23.04. Okay, so SMY was a stock that I was saying, this is going to be my Hail Mary. It dropped over 20% yesterday. If it continues to fall today, I have two specific long levels that I'm looking at in the charts. So the first long level is $59.52. What I like about this is you've got this pivot high right here and this price consolidation right in this area. I love this. I would be picking this up for a long play. Not only is it a $60 Pierce, but it's also got all the support. And then I would be dollar cost averaging all the way to this gap fill at $55.46. So those are my plays for today. Hope you guys get something out of this. And let's see if a couple of these stocks can get into our levels so we can reference them tomorrow and see if any of these play out the way we anticipate. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining. If you guys are getting something out of this, please make sure you're sharing with your friends, you're following, you're liking, subscribing, you're ringing that bell so that way you can get notified when these go live. And you want to stay tuned. Gareth Soloway is going to be going live in less than 3 minutes. He's going to talk about what's going on in the craziness in the markets. You guys don't want to miss that. With that, we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.